Some people believe revenge is loud, a storm, a slap, a public takedown. But the most satisfying kind of revenge is quiet, measured, precise, the kind that doesn't need to scream to be heard. The day I received the acceptance letter for my nephew's dream school, it should have been a happy moment. But I couldn't feel anything. Not joy, not pride, not relief. Just one thought. She took my husband. She took my home. And now I hold the future of the only thing she truly loves. And she doesn't even know it. Hi, I'm Celine Granger. If you're watching this, you probably think I'm the villain. That's fine. Let them call me bitter, spiteful, petty. It doesn't change the truth. This is a revenge story. And like all good revenge stories, it begins with family. Before we go any further, like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. What you're about to hear isn't just a story. It's a warning. Let me take you back. My younger sister, Harper, was the kind of person who turned heads without trying. Charming, spontaneous, messy in that way people confuse for free-spirited. Growing up, I was the straight-A student, the planner, the one who followed the rules. Harper broke every one of them and still got away with it. Our mother used to say Harper was just finding herself. I was already found, apparently, which meant I didn't need attention, didn't need softness. Just applause when I succeeded, and silence when I didn't. We weren't close. Not really. But we played the part, especially after Dad died. Harper cried at the funeral like the world had ended. I held the umbrella over our mother and made sure the catering was on time. After college, I moved back to our hometown. I took a job in grant administration for a university, got married, bought a modest house just outside the city. My husband, Dean, was dependable, kind, a little forgettable to most, but I liked that about him. We lived quietly, predictably, until the night I found his phone left unlocked on the kitchen counter. It started with a name in a message. "I miss you already," it read. The name, Harper. At first I thought I was imagining things, that there was some other Harper. But I kept reading, and reading, until I couldn't breathe. My sister, my husband. For months, the texts were explicit, not just sexual, emotional. He told her things he hadn't told me in years. That he felt alive with her. That being with me was like watching paint dry. The betrayal snapped something in me. Not right away. I didn't scream or throw anything. I just sat on the kitchen floor with his phone in my hand and my dog curled up next to me, like she could smell the world shifting. I didn't confront them. Not immediately. I needed time. Plan. The next week I pretended like everything was fine. I kissed Dean on the cheek, made his favorite lasagna, and even smiled when Harper sent me a selfie of her and her son Owen, just having a chill auntie-day. Tea-day. The nerve. I filed for divorce quietly. Cited irreconcilable differences. I let Dean believe he was the one leaving me. That he'd won. He moved in with Harper 2 weeks later. They didn't even wait. That same month I got a notice from the bank. The house, it turned out, had been refinanced behind my back. Dean had forged my signature. I could have fought it, but the lawyer said it would drag out for months. I didn't have the stomach for more courtroom games. I let it go. I let everything go. To them I was gone. Shadow. Cautionary tale. But I wasn't gone. I was watching. And waiting. Harper called me 2 months later. The first time since the split. She didn't even apologize. Just launched into a speech about how hard this has been for everyone. And how we didn't mean to hurt you, but we couldn't fight what we felt. She cried, of course. She always cried. And then, as if she hadn't already flayed me, she asked me for a favor. Owen, her son, was applying for scholarships. He'd set his sights on a prestigious music conservatory in New York. The only problem. The scholarship committee required a recommendation from a verified local arts sponsor. And I, being on the university's board of community partnerships, was exactly that. "I know we haven't talked much," she said, "but this could change Owen's life." I said I'd think about it. She had no idea that I'd already received Owen's file. That I'd already read his essay. Raw, honest, full of the kind of emotion only a teenager can muster. I saw how badly he wanted this, how talented he was, and I felt something I didn't expect, pity, not for Harper, but for Owen, because Owen was the only innocent one in this entire mess. And yet, I held his dream in my hands. Weeks passed. I said nothing. Harper didn't follow up. She probably thought I was punishing her with silence. She didn't realize silence was the most generous gift I could offer. Until the day she showed up at my office. "I just want to talk," she said, all fake humility and tight smiles. "Please, Celine." I let her in. She looked thinner, tired. The cracks were starting to show. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she began. Owen didn't do anything wrong. If there's anything you can do to help." Cut her off. "Why now?" I asked. "Why this scholarship?" She blinked. "Because it's his only shot. We can't afford tuition. Not even close. Dean doesn't help." She hesitated. "He's not working right now." Of course he wasn't. Harper shifted in her seat. "I know I hurt you. I know what I did was unforgivable. But Owen's your family too." Family. The word hit like a stone in my throat. That night I didn't sleep. I watched the video of Owen's audition. A cello solo that made me ache. He was good. Brilliant even. He deserved the spot. But then I remembered the day I'd packed up my house. The smell of Harper's perfume still on my bedsheets. The look on my mother's face when I told her. A look that said, "Well, maybe you weren't passionate enough." The way I was blamed for being too cold, too career-focused, too uptight. Like Harper stealing everything I'd built was somehow expected. And I thought, if she hadn't taken what wasn't hers, if she'd just asked, I would have given her everything. But now she was going to learn what it felt like to lose something she never thought she'd have to fight for. I logged into the scholarship portal. Drafted the sponsor review. I didn't sabotage Owen. I didn't lie. I just told the truth, that while he was talented, the committee should consider whether his support system would be stable enough to handle the pressures of the program. I used Harper's words against her. Every brag, every careless confession, every whisper of chaos she'd shared over coffee and wine. Her truth became her downfall. I hit submit. The next week I got the call. Owen hadn't been selected. Harper called me 6 times in 1 hour. Left voicemails crying, begging. Said Owen was devastated. Said he didn't understand why. Said he kept asking what he did wrong. I didn't answer. Because it wasn't about what he did. It was about what she did. And now she understands. I had seen her face every day of my life, but I had never seen it like that. Simpering. Self-righteous. Sitting there at the edge of my kitchen counter like she owned the place. 'Cause she did now. The deed had been signed, sealed, and handed to her with a bow. The man I built a life with had slid it across the table like a gift. No questions asked. Jenna had everything she wanted now. My husband, my house, and somehow no shame. But what she didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that while they were playing house, I was quietly working my way into the only thing that still mattered to her. Her son's future. I didn't set out for revenge. That's what I kept telling myself. Even as I watched her decorate the house with our memories, even as I stood across from her at family dinners pretending to be fine, I told myself I was above it. That I wouldn't stoop. That I was better. But when I opened that letter, the one her son, Caleb, left on my porch, everything changed. "Ms. Granger," it began. "I've been nominated for the Albright Leadership Fellowship. They said I needed a community sponsor, someone with an academic or professional background who can vouch for my ethics. I know we haven't talked much lately, but I was hoping." I stopped reading. Albright. The most competitive pre-college program in the state. Full-ride prestige mentorship. Hundreds apply. Dozens get shortlisted. Fewer than 10 are chosen. And their futures, scholarships, Ivy Leagues, politics, tech, are practically written the second they walk through those doors. Caleb had earned his way into consideration. He was bright, disciplined, unusually self-aware for 17. His only weakness. His mother. But even that was masked behind the curtain of privilege she'd constructed. And now he needed one thing to secure his spot. My endorsement. I could have burned the letter. But I didn't. I placed it carefully back in the envelope, poured a glass of wine, and sat on my back porch as twilight slid over the trees. Jenna's house, my old house, glowed like a lantern just down the hill. I could hear laughter echoing from the patio. Probably a barbecue. Probably with the same neighbors who had once come to our Christmas parties. They hadn't even changed the string lights. I thought about Caleb. How he used to call me Aunt Cece when he was little. How I taught him how to make pancakes when Jenna was too hungover to cook. How he'd crawled into my lap crying when he'd failed his first test in middle school. And how Jenna had once told him, "You don't need her anymore. You have me." Well, now he needed me again. And she didn't even know it. I took a sip of wine and looked up at the stars. I hadn't answered the letter yet, and I didn't plan to. Not right away. Because real power isn't in saying yes. It's in making them wait. 2 days later, Jenna texted me. "Jenna, hey, Caleb said he dropped something off for you. Just wanted to follow up, smiley face." No mention of what it was. No apology. Just a smiling dagger wrapped in faux concern. I didn't respond. That weekend Caleb came by. I watched through the curtain as he stood on my porch, shifting from foot to foot. His shoulders were slumped. He rang the bell once, waited. Rang it again. Then left. He didn't come back the next day. Or the next. On Wednesday, I got a phone call from a number I didn't recognize. It was the Albright program. "Hi, Ms. Granger," the woman said. "We just wanted to follow up on a nomination form for Caleb Norris. He listed you as a reference." I smiled, slow and measured. "Oh, Caleb. Yes, I remember him well. A very bright young man. So you'd be comfortable serving as a sponsor?" "Not just yet," I said. "I think we need to talk first. There are things I need to understand." He paused. "Of course. Would you like us to let him know?" "No," I said. "I'll reach out myself." Hung up. Let the silence settle. Then picked up the letter again and read it, this time slowly, carefully. Not for what he said, but for what he didn't. No mention of his mother. No apology for what happened. Just a polite, professional plea from a boy raised in a house where betrayal lived in the walls like mold. I needed to know if he was hers. Or if there was still a piece of me in him. So I invited him over. When he arrived, he looked older. Taller. But unsure, like a boy in a borrowed suit. "Thanks for seeing me," he said, eyes down. I poured him tea. Sat across from him like it was a job interview. Maybe it was. "Why do you want Albright?" he asked. He hesitated. "Because I want to make something of myself. Something outside the family name." "Outside your mother, you mean?" He looked up sharply. "She's been through a lot," he said, defaulting to defense. "I mean, we all have. It was messy, but she's trying." "Is that what she told you to say?" He blinked. "No. She doesn't even know I'm here." But I leaned back in my chair. "You're smart, Caleb. And driven. But tell me, if someone stood between you and what you wanted most, what would you do?" His eyes narrowed. "I guess I'd have to earn it. Convince them." "Convince them how?" "By being honest. Showing them I'm not my mom." There it was. Flicker. A fracture in the surface. I nodded slowly. "I'll think about it." He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath the whole time. As he left, I saw Jenna waiting at the curb in her car. She wasn't supposed to know, but of course she did. She rolled down the window as I stepped outside. "Thanks for seeing him," she said, voice syrupy. I just smiled. Always happy to help. Then I went inside and closed the door. And made my real plan. See, Albright didn't just require a letter. It required proof of character. I could write whatever I wanted. I could mention concerns. I could cite ethical ambiguities. I could say he'd shown immaturity. And unless Caleb could produce a glowing recommendation from someone equally prestigious, which he couldn't. My words would stand. I didn't have to lie. I just had to suggest. But I still hadn't made my decision. Because the truth was, I liked Caleb. I did. But I also knew he was a product of her. That no matter how much he tried to carve his own path, she would always try to own it. And maybe, just maybe, the only way to make her understand what she'd taken from me was to take something from her. Something she loved. I stared at the blank page for hours that night. Then I picked up my pen. And wrote the truth. Not about Caleb. About Jenna. About what she'd done. About how I'd watched her manipulate and maneuver, gaslight and grift. Not just me, but everyone around her. About how Caleb had grown up in that fog. And how he was only just starting to crawl out of it. I didn't ask for them to reject him. I asked them to think carefully. I sealed the envelope, stared at it, and then I did the most dangerous thing of all. Mailed it. 3 weeks passed before I heard anything. Then one night my phone rang. It was Caleb. His voice cracked when he spoke. I didn't get in. I said nothing. They said the feedback was mixed. That there were concerns about my background. That maybe I wasn't the right fit. Silence hung like smoke. Did you? He whispered. Was it you? Closed my eyes. And said the only honest thing I could. Yes. He didn't speak. I heard him breathing. Once. Why? Because someone had to break the cycle, I said. And if you're strong enough to hate me for this, maybe you're strong enough to become your own man. He hung up. I haven't heard from him since. But I know he'll remember me. And her. She'll never forget. Not because I destroyed her. But because I made her watch someone else become stronger without her. And that's a wound she'll never be able to bandage. I didn't hear from Vivienne for 3 weeks. Not a call. Not a text. Not even a cryptic Facebook post. Which, for her, was as loud as screaming. My sister, the queen of digital displays, had gone silent. I didn't need to wonder why. I'd handed her the quiet myself. But silence has its own weight. It drips into everything. It sits in your chest while you wait for the next move. I spent those weeks watching Mason. My nephew, barely 18, was scrambling to keep his future intact. He sent follow-up emails to the admissions board. Left messages with the registrar. His panic was quiet, measured. The kind that kids with ambition learn to carry early. I saw myself in him once. And I hated that I did. Because this wasn't about him. This was about her. Still, I didn't pull the trigger. Not yet. Instead, I fed the fire slowly. I made a donation to the school's Women in Finance initiative. Anonymously, of course. Then quietly looped in Mason's scholarship board to flag a potential conflict of interest. Nothing damning. Just enough. By week 4, Vivienne cracked. She showed up at my door in full armor. Heels, pearls, and a red lip. A woman who came ready to perform. I didn't open the door at first. Let her stand there for 3 knocks. When I did answer, she was already rehearsed. Celine, she said. I think we need to talk. I stepped aside. Let her walk in like it was still her right. She looked around my living room like she expected it to be darker. More bitter. She was looking for evidence that I was obsessed, broken, lonely. But I'd scrubbed that version of myself clean. Nice place, she muttered. Cut the crap, Viv. What do you want? She flinched. Just a little. But enough. I want to fix this, she said. Whatever it is you think I did. I laughed. Came out sharper than I meant. You think this is about what I think you did. She straightened. You're trying to sabotage my son. I leaned in. I'm not trying. I'm watching. You're angry, she said. I get it. The divorce. The house. Noah. Don't say his name. Her lips pressed into a line. She reached into her purse, pulled out a folder. Inside. Printed emails, financial statements, a copy of Mason's scholarship agreement. I want you to sign this, she said. It's a statement of support. It'll go to his program director. All it says is that you have no objection to his continued scholarship and placement. I didn't touch the paper. You think I owe you that? I think you owe him that, she snapped. Whatever this is, you're punishing the wrong person. I stood up, walked to the window, let her twist in silence. I was 28, I said quietly, when I brought him to Thanksgiving. Do you remember that? She didn't answer. I introduced you to Noah. You laughed at his stories. You toasted to our engagement. And then 3 months later, I caught you sneaking out of his apartment. Vivienne's mouth opened, closed. I begged you, I said. Do you remember that part? I asked you to end it. You said, you were never right for him anyway. That was 10 years ago. And the house? She shook her head. You left. You signed it over in the divorce. Because he threatened to drag me through court for years. Because I couldn't afford to fight. Vivienne's voice dropped. Then what is this about, Celine? You want me to grovel? You want me to admit it? Fine. I did it. I betrayed you. I slept with him. I married him. I took the house. I did all of it. And I'm not sorry. He stood, chest heaving. But you don't get to wreck my family because yours didn't work out. I turned to her slowly. My voice was ice. I didn't wreck your family. Built it. You just used it. Vivienne's eyes filled with tears. Not guilt. Fear. She'd crossed too many lines and was only now realizing which ones mattered. I'll tell Mason, she said. I'll tell him the truth. He'll hate me. Then you shouldn't have given him a reason to. She shoved the folder back into her purse. You've made your point. Not yet. He froze. I stepped closer. You're going to send an email to his program head, I said. You're going to explain that you asked me to sign under pressure. That you'd lied to the board about our conflict of interest. You'll say Mason didn't know. And then you'll remove yourself from the scholarship entirely. Her mouth opened to protest. If you don't, I continued, I'll forward every message you ever sent me about the favor you pulled to get him in. About the donor dinner where you lied about his GPA. About the fund you dipped into using your husband's firm's name. Her face drained. I sat down. Measured. Your son will get his future. But you'll watch it from the outside. Just like I watched you take mine. Vivienne turned, walked out in silence. This time I let the door close behind her. The email came the next morning. Short. Clinical. Efficient. I forwarded it to the scholarship board. Attached a statement confirming Mason's eligibility. No grudge. No bad blood. I never told him what she did. What she almost cost him. That wasn't my revenge to deliver. Sometimes revenge doesn't look like fire. Sometimes it looks like mercy. But make no mistake. I didn't do it for her. I did it so she would never forget that I held the knife. And chose not to twist. There's something strange about getting what you want. You think it'll feel like triumph, like winning. But sometimes it just feels quiet. Vivienne followed through. She removed herself from Mason's scholarship file, issued a formal correction, and ensured no trace of impropriety lingered in the school's records. She did it all in under 48 hours, probably hoping the speed would scrub her shame clean. Didn't. I watched the fallout from afar. A few heads at the donor board turned. Few inquiries were made. Mason somehow remained untouched. That was the only thing I cared about. I wasn't there to destroy him. I was there to remind his mother that not every betrayal is forgotten. Not every sister rolls over and dies. But then, something unexpected happened. Mason called me. Not Vivienne. Not her husband. Mason. Hey, Aunt Celine, he said, voice careful. Can we meet? I said yes before I had time to talk myself out of it. We met at a coffee shop on campus. A cozy place filled with over-caffeinated undergrads and lo-fi jazz humming in the background. He looked older than I remembered. Not just in the way he dressed or carried himself, but in the weariness behind his eyes. He didn't order anything. Just sat across from me. Hands wrapped around a paper cup of untouched tea. I know something happened, he said after a long silence. Something with my scholarship. With my mom. I didn't answer right away. She won't tell me, he added. But I'm not stupid. I saw the revised statement from the school. He pulled out. There's rumors. Leaned back. Watched him. What kind of rumors? Yes. He shrugged. That there was pressure. Influence. That maybe my acceptance wasn't totally clean. I felt a flicker of something. Not guilt exactly. More like a shadow of responsibility. Passed quickly. And what do you think? Asked him. Mason didn't hesitate. I think you had every right to do what you did. That surprised me. I don't know the full story, he said. But I know my mom. And I know she's not always as careful as she should be with people's trust. I grew up watching it. I looked down at my coffee. She ever tell you about your uncle? Asked softly. He blinked. No. His name was Julian. Our youngest brother. He died when he was 19. Car accident. Mason's eyes widened slightly. I didn't even know you had a brother. Vivienne pretends he didn't exist. 'Cause she was the one driving. She wasn't drunk. But she was reckless. Trying to prove something. He died on impact. Silence fell over the table like a shroud. I was the one who cleaned up the mess, I said. I made the arrangements. I stood in front of our parents. And Vivienne. She didn't even cry. Just said. He shouldn't have gotten in the car. Mason swallowed. I'm sorry. It's a pattern, I said. She destroys things. Then lets someone else grieve them. He nodded slowly. Then said something that stopped me cold. She told me you stole my father from her. Froze. He kept his eyes on me. She said you seduced him. That she never had a chance. I let out a short, humorless laugh. She always did have a flair for rewriting history. So, it's not true. I looked at Mason. Really looked at him. Your father was my fiancé. We were together for 3 years. She didn't steal him because I let her. She stole him because he was weak. And she made him think she could give him something I couldn't. And when she had him, she still resented me. Mason's shoulders dropped. The weight of decades shifting between us. I don't know why you're telling me all this, he said after a moment. Because you asked. He nodded once. Then leaned forward. Can I ask you one more thing? Anything. Do you think I'm like her? And blinked. No, I said firmly. You're not. He nodded again. This time more to himself. Then he stood. Thanks for meeting me, he said. And for everything else. I watched him go, unsure what exactly I had just done. Won him over or opened a door I wasn't ready to walk through. Vivienne didn't contact me again. But she didn't need to. Made my move. Left my mark. And now the silence between us said more than any screaming match ever could. Still something gnawed at me. Revenge is addictive. You think there's one goal, one moment of triumph, but then you get a taste of power and it whispers, what else can you take? I thought I'd be done after Mason's future was secured. I thought setting the record straight and making Vivienne squirm would be enough. But a part of me wanted more. Not her money. Not her tears. Her legacy. She was still a partner at a boutique consulting firm downtown. A firm that specialized in image rehabilitation for high-profile clients. She built her reputation on being clean, polished above scandal. And I had just enough to soil that reputation. Emails. Texts. A single signed document from 5 years ago when she helped rebrand a biotech startup that later got caught burying toxicity data. She'd buried the evidence for them. I hadn't cared about it then. But now it mattered. So I made a choice. I printed copies. Mailed them to the board of directors. To 2 local journalists. To a woman who ran a watchdog blog with a surprisingly loyal readership. I signed the envelope only with, ask her what she knew. The fallout wasn't immediate. But it was inevitable. The firm launched an internal review. Vivienne took a leave of absence to focus on family. And that polished image of hers, the one she built over 15 years, started to crack. I didn't smile. I didn't toast to it. I just sat in my apartment one night, watching the news and thought, this is what justice looks like. Low, precise, unforgiving. I didn't ruin her life. I just peeled the mask off and let everyone else see the truth underneath. I thought it would feel like the end. Watching Vivienne's face on the local news, standing behind a podium in that charcoal gray suit she always wore for damage control. Her voice trembled for the first time I could remember. She wasn't used to explaining herself. She was used to rewriting the story before anyone asked questions. But the press had questions. So did the board. So did her staff, some of whom had quietly wondered why so many of their projects were ethically flexible. I had given them the missing piece. I watched her say the word misjudgment. Not fraud. Not cover-up. Just that, a misjudgment. She was good at this, but not as good as she thought. Still, as much satisfaction as it gave me, it didn't feel like victory. Not really. Because there was still one person I hadn't heard from. My sister. She hadn't called. Hadn't texted. Nothing. Not even a snide email or veiled threat. Just silence. Which frankly was worse. The longer it stretched, the more I found myself wondering, what's she planning? Because Vivienne always played a long game. And I had poked the bear. 3 weeks after the press leak, I came home to find my apartment door ajar. Just slightly. The lock wasn't broken. The security alarm hadn't triggered. But the door was open, and I hadn't left it that way. My body tensed. I stepped in slowly, heart thudding. Nothing looked disturbed. No broken glass, no missing electronics. But my desk drawer, the one I always kept locked, was open. And inside, me. She knew. Flash drive. The emails. The documents. The leverage I hadn't used yet was gone. She hadn't needed to scream or threaten. She'd simply reminded me who I was dealing with. I locked the door behind me, double-checked the windows, and sat down at the kitchen table with shaking hands. She could have taken more. She didn't. Which meant she was sending a message. You got your shot. Take it and walk away. But I didn't walk away. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do again. Called my mother. She picked up on the second ring, surprised but composed. That was her style. Elegant disappointment. I didn't think I'd hear from you again, she said. Not after the scene you made with Vivienne's firm. I didn't make a scene. I told the truth. That sound, that tight, condescending hum, still made me clench my jaw. But I didn't rise to it. I need to ask you something, I said. Oh, do you remember Julian? Silence. Why are you bringing him up? Because no one else ever does, I said quietly. And because I need to know. Did you know it was Vivienne's fault? She exhaled. Lowly. I knew she was driving. But accidents happen. She wasn't driving safely. She was racing. Julian tried to get out before they hit the curve. She was 17. He was 19. He died. And no one held her accountable. There was another pause. Then, what do you want me to say, Celine? That I failed you. That I failed him. Closed my eyes. Yes, I said. More silence. Then, I did. Failed all of you. But if you think dragging Vivienne through the mud fixes any of that. I don't, I cut in. But I also won't pretend she's a victim. You're not innocent either. That landed hard. 'Cause it was true. I wasn't. Revenge always asks for something in return. Sometimes it's your time. Sometimes it's your peace. And sometimes it's your soul. A week later I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Just my name typed in capital letters. Inside was a photo. Me and Mason sitting at the coffee shop. Our heads bent together, the moment I told him the truth. On the back a note. Careful who you play mother to. I burned the picture that night. But the message stayed with me. Vivienne wasn't done. And if I pushed further, she wouldn't aim at me. She'd aim at Mason. So I had a choice, walk away, or escalate. I spent 2 nights not sleeping, replaying everything. All the years I'd spent in Vivienne's shadow. All the ways I'd told myself that what I was doing was justice. But Mason, he was just a kid. Good one. Smart one. He didn't deserve to be a casualty in a war he didn't start. So I made another choice. Called him. He picked up on the third ring. "Aunt Celine. We need to talk," I said. When we met again, I brought everything. The emails. Paper trail. Photo. I told him the whole story. Not for revenge. For closure. He read every word in silence. Then sat back stunned. "She really did all this?" he asked. He nodded. "I'm sorry. Why are you giving this to me?" "Because it's yours now. Whatever you do with it, destroy it, confront her, nothing at all, that's your decision. But you deserve to know who she is." He didn't cry. But his voice cracked when he said, "Thank you." Understood. "Take care of yourself, Mason." And I walked away. For good. That was 4 months ago. I haven't seen Vivienne since. Her firm pushed her out. Mason stayed in school, on full merit-based funding, thanks to a sudden anonymous donation. I don't need to tell you who signed the check. Some people ask if I regret it, the scorched earth, the secrets exposed. But the truth is, I regret waiting so long to stop pretending everything was fine. Vivienne taught me that blood doesn't make you family. Trust does. And once it's broken, it never comes back the same. So I built something new. Not revenge. Not resentment. Freedom. And finally, peace. If you followed me this far, thank you. Like this video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications, because there are more stories like mine out there. And sometimes the truth needs a witness.